Number 11, good leaders lead their teams to discover the best of their potentials. A good leader must see the potential of the team or the community far beyond them and help them to discover their best potentials. Good leaders are good talent spotters. Good leaders spot momentary flashes of brilliance and get the individual or the team to see what is possible if those moments of brilliance becomes enduring. So you sit in a meeting, someone makes an extempore contribution and very impressive, and you suddenly realize that this is a potential head of strategy, but she doesn't know. Good leaders can see and will do things like, if we can develop, that's a powerful contribution, can we make this endure? And that's how good leaders help people to discover their potential. They can see the potential of people far beyond them. If you are going to be a good leader, build institutions, we have to have the capacity to spot talent much earlier than they can see of themselves. So focus on the positive of the team, the areas of their strong potentials to bring out the best in the team or the community. Accentuate the strength of the group, the individual, the community, and not their weaknesses. Their leaders, when they are chairing a meeting, all they are seeing are weaknesses. But leaders that see positives are likely to produce stronger performance than leaders who, when they look at their team, all they see, weak. Those kind of team leaders will end up producing a poor and a weak team. Related one, number 12. Build your team on the individual strength of your members and not their weaknesses. Let the strength of one complement the weakness of another, and you can build a team that seems to be strong all around. Let me repeat that, very important. In a team, no one is going to be perfect, but what good leaders do is that Femi is strong in A, weak in B. John is strong in B and weak in C. And we build a team where Femi, with his strength of A, is complementing and playing with B, that is strength of B. And therefore, the weakness of Femi will no longer be obvious. And I will find Rose, who will complement, where the weakness of C is the strength of D. And by the time you look at the team together, you have a team that has no weakness. That is what people do, good leaders do, because no one is perfect. But you need to do this. You have to see people based on their strength. The lens that you look at people has to be positive. But leaders that perpetually see weak people cannot build strong teams. So build your team on the individual strength of your members and not their weaknesses. Let the strength of one complement the weakness of another, and you can build a team that seems to be strong all around. It looks like the team has no weakness, but that's because a good leader has blended the team with the strength and complemented them very well. Number 13, replicate and multiply your good skills in your team. Reproduce your good self in others, and you will have a good peace of mind as a leader, while the capacity of your team to get results is amplified many times. If you have a skill, if you are running a mechanic workshop, and you are the one that knows how to do it, and you don't teach your people how to do the job, what will happen when there are several cars to do? We say this of mechanic, and we want to wait until Baba Gani is around before the car is fixed. But what do you do to yourself? You are the only one that knows it, how to do it. You have not replicated your skill in your team. What kind of team will you build? What kind of institution will you build? What kind of community will you build if you are the only superstar? Many leaders cannot replicate their strength in their team or their skills in their team because they are insecure. By replicating yourself, teaching what you know, you're also developing personal mastery. The masters are teachers. Let me repeat that. The masters are teachers. When you give, you're actually reinforcing yourself by teaching others, by replicating your skills in your team. You actually become a master. And therefore, see a group that are performing, where everyone is great, and the leader is a master. It's because the leader has replicated, whether it's an art, whether it is a skill, they have replicated that thing in their team, and they mutually reinforce themselves, and that leader becomes the master. So do not be insecure. Masters are teachers. Replicate your strength in your team. Number 14. Leading people does not always have to be from the front. Sometimes in a community and in a particular situation, a leader can come from the middle or from the back. If you have a particular expertise, a particular relevant experience, you can lead from the middle, because there are instances when leaders do not have to be from the front. So one of a picture of this, if you during the Osama bin Laden, when he was the U.S. In the Situation Room, you look at their White House picture, when the U.S. Air Force were going to get Osama bin Laden. If you look at the Situation Room, so those who have seen that picture, you see that the President of the United States was sitting at the corner. He was not at the head of the table. The head of the table was the Chief of Defense Staff. Even when you're a leader, don't be insecure. There are times when you need to move to the side and let the expert take charge. We are, for example, we lead a business. We want to do a lot of things in the youth market. You don't understand the youth market because you are not young. Yet you want to sit down and to be developing the strategy for the youth market, where all that you need to do is to just shift and let the young people develop that product. As a leader, know like that Obama picked that picture of that situation room, when you need to move to the center, to the corner, there's someone else with the expertise to lead the meeting. Maybe it's your finance officer, the chief financial officer, you are discussing financial issues. You don't need to chair the meeting. Don't be insecure. Move to the side. That's what good leaders do. Number 15. Leadership values and the people being led. A team ultimately reflects the value of its leader. See a team with poor values, look straight at its leadership. The good or wrong values of a leader are a powerful force of example for the people being led. Even if the leader preaches good values and even promote and reward it, his or her own force of value, example, will override those incentives, and the team will follow and replicate the bad and the wrong values of the leader. The people being led can see through the leader. They can see through what the leader does and are force of example. So it does not matter, even when you have all these incentives in place, the people will ultimately follow the force of example of the leader. Your example as a leader in your team is more powerful many times than the reward in terms of the values of your institution or your society or your community that you lead. When you lead in the home, community, family, business, work, or church or society, what kind of values are you setting for those that you lead? Number 16, NonLinear decisions in senior leadership. A key wisdom of leadership is that decision situations are not always typically black or white, or binary, or a linear choice between two extremes of black or white, or yes or no. The people that we lead may present situations this way from their limited lenses. Between black and white are shades of many colors. That is what is called being pragmatic. Junior leaders deal with simple binary choices. When you start your career, one of the things you learn is that when you're a young manager, the issues you deal with are binary, yes or no, black or white. But as you go higher as senior leadership, you have to deal with 3, 4, 5 things that are right at the same time. And the choice is not that simple between A or B. Binary choices are not pragmatic. That's the reason why in Africa society, when they bring some matters to elders, they will say, means let us reflect. A young child, a young man brings the elder, are you not hearing? They have burned something down. The old man will say, because he expects it to be the decision after they burn something down, let's go and do retaliate. But the elder, a wise person, a wise leader, or the baale, or the village head can see beyond how complex things are. Or if we pull this one, maybe 5 other things will happen that may be beyond what we want. And the old man will say, It is because they recognize that these choices are not binary. If you are a leader and you are leading, and you see the world in black or white, yes or no, and you don't recognize that at your leadership level, there are many situations where you have to optimize between 3, 4, 5 things that are right at the same time. You are not likely to be a good leader and taking good leadership decision. And that's one of the key wisdom of leadership, that leadership decisions are seldom binary. Between black or white are shades of many colors. Number 17, leading people is like an orchestra conductor. There are several diverse instruments in the orchestra: the piano, the drums, saxophone, trumpets, violin. Leadership is like an orchestra conductor. A leader is like an orchestra conductor who has to blend these diverse instruments to play together to form a music. Otherwise, they play discordant tunes that becomes a noise. Every instrument in the orchestra has got a role. Even the orchestra conductor, the leader, is a role that is not superior in the production of the music, just like other roles. When there are discordant tunes and noises, the orchestra conductor is not doing a good job. What are you producing as a leader of people? A music symphony, or discordant tune, or a noise? When the orchestra produces discordant tune or noise, it is like the orchestra conductor is not there. Some leaders are present, but in the real sense, their presence is like an absence because they are not leading. Being present as a leader is not necessarily the same thing as leading in the real sense. Number 18, leading with purpose. When you are a leader, some key questions to ask is that, what is the purpose of the time? When you are a leader, one of the key questions to ask is that, what is the purpose of this time? Why are you the leader at this time? What is the purpose of the time? There are many leaders that lead. They don't ask these questions. They don't even understand the purpose of the time. They will ultimately sub-optimize their performance as a leader. So that question, leading with purpose, what's the purpose of the time? Why are you the leader of the community, of that department, or the church, or the society, or the business at this time, or the family at this time? The sons of Issachar understood the time. 1 Chronicles 12:32. From the tribe of Issachar, there were 200 leaders of the tribe with their relatives. All these men understood the signs of the times, and they knew the best course for Israel to take. If you are going to be a leader, you need to be a son of Issachar or a daughter of Issachar. Without your understanding of the purpose of the time and the assignment, you are not likely to be a good leader of people. Miles Monroe, one of the quotes of Miles Monroe said, when purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. Without the understanding of the purpose of the time, while you are the leader, you will abuse your office, or at the minimum, deliver below your best potential. Number 19, be a transformational leader rather than a transactional leader. Transactional leadership is leading people as a transaction. I want you to do this, and I will give you this reward. It really inspires people to go the extra mile, especially when the reward is withdrawn. To get more out of people, you have to increase the reward. And you may not have reward to give perpetually. There's no real trust between the leadership and the follower in transactional leadership. It is like prostitution or a mercenary relationship. Transactional leaders have low emotional connection with their followers. Transactional leadership has a situational usefulness, but transactional leaders can really deliver a transformational change when a great mission is to be accomplished, and you need the heart and soul of the followers of the mission, where the mission is bigger than momentary transaction and reward. In transactional leadership, when the transaction runs out, that is the end of the mission. The loyalty of the follower is to The loyalty of the follower is to transactional reward. If a higher transactional reward is available in another boat, the followers will jump ship at the tap of a finger. Transactional leadership really builds things that endures. Transformational leadership, on the other hand, connects people to a greater purpose and an inspiring ideal beyond the moment. And the kind of great ideals for which transformational leaders connect people to inspire them beyond the transaction of a moment are things like altruism. Things like, let us change the world. Let us make the world a better place. Whatever you do, your organization, your business, your church, your community, if you connect to altruistic purpose, let us make the world a better place, and can connect what you do to making the world a better place, you will inspire people beyond the transaction of a moment. Great transformational companies have altruistic goals. An example of that is Google. The mission of Google is let us organize the world information and make it universally accessible and useful. It's the rallying cry for why many PhDs in engineering, computer science, go to Google to work. It's not just about profit, about let's make 100 billion naira or dollars or whatever it is. It's that inspiring altruistic thing. Let us change the world. Their profit is a byproduct of that altruistic, inspiring goal and mission. The second thing you can use in terms of inspiring people as a transformational leader is excellence. Let us create the gold standard of marketing. Let us create the gold standard of engineering. Let us build an institution that becomes the gold standard of banking. Let us build the gold standard of arts. With that, there are people that will work for you, work in your team, with that vision of excellence, to build their best, to build the standard, the gold standard. So excellence, along with altruism, can be a way to build a transformational organization, to be a transformational leader. The other one, of course, is adventure. Let us build a ship that will sail to Mars. There are people that, when there's an adventure, if you build an adventure that can connect people, they will follow you. So, one way to find transformational leadership is altruism, excellence, adventure. Work and performance in transformational leadership becomes a self-fulfillment. For the people that work for transformational leaders, work and performance becomes a self-fulfillment within a higher purpose that goes beyond self. There are no longer rigid boundaries of what to do and where to stop as in transactional leadership. I ask you, as a leader, what is the greater ideal beyond monthly salary or quarterly or yearly bonus that you have connected your people to inspire them? If all that you do is salary, quarterly bonus, you are not likely to build an inspirational organization. But you have a great idea, altruistic, let's change the world, let's become the gold standard of excellence. You will find people working their heart and soul beyond the boundaries of their work to deliver great performance for you as a leader. Number 20, and we're getting to the end. Just be patient. Inner strength, dealing with adversity. Leading people will not always be smooth. There will be a period of adversity where you have to draw on your inner strength to encourage yourself, especially if you are a change or a transformational leader. David has to encourage himself in the Lord in his hard times. 1 Samuel 36 says something like, and David was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him, because the soul of all the people were grieved, every man for his sons and daughters. But David encouraged himself in the Lord. The components of inner strength in dark times for leaders are as follows. Number one, I think I have about six components of inner strength for a leader in dark times, in managing adversity. Number one is faith. Number two is wisdom. The wisdom to navigate what seems like an insurmountable obstacle. Number three is courage. Number four is resilience. The resilience to know that it may be looking tough, but if we can project 4-5 years ahead and we look back today, what is seemingly looking tough may not be as tough as we thought it was. Number four is Number 4 is endurance. In terms of inner strength, building inner strength to manage adversity. Then number 6 is a long sight to keep focus on the mission, despite the challenge of the time. Draw inspiration from the greater things that are possible when the adversity is conquered. Again, back to vision. That vision can be your inspiration, can be the thing that will say, we know where we are going. We can only see a mountain, but we see something greater at the end of the mountain, and therefore we'll keep going. And that's the resilience that we are talking about. The long sight to keep focus on the mission, despite the challenge of the time. Draw inspiration from the greater things that are possible when adversity is conquered. Those are the components of inner strength in terms of managing adversity in dark times. Faith, wisdom, courage, resilience, endurance, and the long sight to keep focus on the mission. Number 21. Lonely times. Lonely times. There are fears that only you must confront as a leader. Only you know the weight of the challenges ahead. There are situations that you are as a leader, you're the only one that know the weight of the challenges that are ahead. If you expose those challenges to those you lead, they will become afraid. If you expose those fears to the people that you lead, to your troops, they will lose their motivation to fight. So leaders have their fears. That's what we are talking about. Leaders have their fears. But there are fears that only you must deal with. If you expose those fears to your troops, they may lose their motivation to fight and even run away. You have to deal with those fears alone as a leader. While your troops look up to you to display courage and draw from your own courage, you are dealing with fear that you cannot share. Those are the kind of things that leaders have to deal with. There are situations where, for example, you are the father in the house. I saw a picture online about they showed a dad who was sitting alone in the veranda of his house. And someone posted that, if you ever seen your dad sit alone like this in the front of the house when everybody is watching TV in the sitting room. And a lot of people were clicking, yes, because, they are fears. The father has to think about what is ahead. And the same thing, the father is the leader. He cannot share it, because if he shares it, everybody will become afraid. The guys are afraid. What will happen to his business? What will happen to the cash flow? Same thing when you are leading a business, a community. There are fears that only you alone must deal with. If those fears, you expose them to your troops, they will run away and they will not fight. The Lord Jesus Christ, in Matthew 26, 36 to 56, had to go and pray alone in Gethsemane. He could not share the challenge of the cross with his troops. He said, the Lord Jesus Christ said something like this. He told the apostles, sit here while I go to pray. He didn't take them to pray with him. Even his kitchen cabinet, those 3 close apostles, and God was making reference to them. Even those kitchen cabinets, those 3 out of the 12, the people that were closest to him, he did not even share the fear with them. They were sleeping when he went away to pray, to lament his burden to God. And you know what he told the Lord? He said, my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. He was the only one that said that to God. Maybe if he had said that to his, everybody would have run away even before the cross came. Only the Lord Jesus knew the size and the weight of the challenge of the body of the cross that was ahead. So, as a leader, there will be lonely times when you alone have to deal with your fears. Number 22, the joy of leadership. Despite the burden of leadership, those who are called to lead will find the grace to carry the burden of leadership. And the Lord truly helps them with that grace. Nothing is more inspiring than to see ordinary people inspired to great accomplishments far beyond their own dreams as individuals, communities, businesses, or organizations. When the soccer player scores a great goal on the field and runs to the coach with joy that we did it, that joy with which the coach meets the player running towards him or her, that is the joy of leadership. May you find the grace to fulfill your calling where you are supposed to lead. Amen. Thank you very much.